Good morning, St. Paul. This is Wesley White, your Un-Bougie foodie. As always, I want to thank you all for tuning in this morning. It's a Saturday. It's a fall Saturday. I know that sounds sad to say, but I don't know. Fall is a season that I look forward to, mainly because you're inside and you could cook a lot of stuff and stay warm. But it's just a precursor to the big S word, which is snow. So I know that's too early to be talking about, but thank you all so much for joining me. Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, East Side. Thank you. Yeah, I hope you're gonna sit back, have some coffee, and listen to our segment here about food. First and foremost, I have a wonderful guest in with me, home chef. Yes, home chef James. Good Lord. He's sitting right in front of me. Sorry. He's laughing because he knows I know his name. Anyway, James Lekatz.
Hey, everybody.
Embarrassing. Looking at him and calling him Jeff. Morning, James. Hey. Oh, God. How embarrassing is that? Anyway, thank you so much for being here, James. I really appreciate it. I am really excited about our conversation. I've talked about this for weeks, and I didn't have a chance to actually reach out and for us to schedule something. My fault, admittedly. But it was James's birthday last month, like mine. We're Virgo brothers. So.
Virgos.
Yes. And James decided to do this wonderful meal. That's all I could describe it as. It's a wonderful meal. I mean, full-on smorgasbord of dishes and desserts and appetizers, and so that's what we're going to talk about. So I hope you are prepared.
Yeah.
If you've seen online already, I posted some pictures. He was actually in the kitchen. I mean, they were he and some friends, and I was also there as well, making his own pasta, and along with all these other dishes that are online for you to see as well. So as we talk about them, you'll get an idea. At least if you're going to the page, definitely visit the Un-Bougie Foodie Facebook page, and you'll see these wonderful photos of just some of this stuff was just amazing. So let's just get right into it. First, though, I need to ask. He always refers to his spirit animal. Who is that?
Oh, my spirit animal is Julia Child. Julia Child is mine. On all my Instagram and Facebook mostly is now just food images of things I'm baking, and my first tag is always Julia is my spirit animal.
And what I think I may have asked before when you've been on the show, what got you so interested in doing French? Because to me, and I guess just a person that I cook, but I haven't gone into all these different cuisines and so forth, French would seem kind of difficult. And maybe because just for the person that doesn't have all the different types of equipment and pots and pans and so forth, what made you go into it?
But I don't have all the equipment either. And here's the great thing is that I don't know how I got my first Julia Child cookbook for Christmas years ago from my sister.
Okay.
I remember I got it. I wasn't expecting it. I almost started crying. Oh. She's like, what are you doing? You're getting me emotional. I'm like, yes, it's Julia Child. And because of her first cookbook, she goes through the basics of how to do a lot of French techniques.
Okay.
And it's really laid out for you. And so just learning from that, you're able to incorporate all those techniques into a lot of things, like a basic roux. You use for a lot of things. We don't even know what's called, like making a gravy. Yep, you start with the roux.
Exactly.
You start with all these sauces, which are the basis of so many foods that we eat. And a lot of it comes from French cooking. And so I can just incorporate that then into a bunch of other things.
That's true. Right? That makes sense. When it comes down to, I guess, just that, I shouldn't say that because, like myself, I like to just come up with stuff, or what some of the interesting dishes that you make. Yes, do they just come directly from out of the cookbook, or do you put your own spin on it at times?
My own spin on it.
Okay.
A lot of times. Sometimes, like, if I want something, like, I know today, because it is fall, it's stew season and soup season, right?
Yes.
And so I know this weekend I'm making one of my favorite stews of a Julia Childs in her second cookbook, Mastering Art of French Cuisine. And it is this beef stew, but instead of having, like, the added perk is that you put capers and black olives in it.
Oh, okay.
Super great, super easy. It has that kind of briny thing. That's one of my favorites too. So that's going to be happening today.
Okay.
So I know that one. I can probably just repeat the recipe for you right off the top. But, it's that.
We can tell that then.
But then other things, like I started making my sausage. And I started out with
Did you start again?
Well, salami, no, that was a hardcore fail.
Okay.
That was a hardcore fail. But making sausage, I do quite often all the time now.
Okay.
I have my freezer is full of it.
Okay.
But with that, I started learning just basic, like, from cookbooks. And now, because I know the basics of what's in it, like, we have a whole bunch of my buddy Nate and I, who after I make it with him, we just keep on changing up everything. And I'm excited. We want to do it like Minnesota sausage.
Oh.
His dad's a big hunter.
Okay.
And so, like, making venison blueberry wild rice would be so tasty.
Oh my God.
Right. So just incorporating all these, like, Minnesota flavors that are just here.
I'm a beggar. You know that, right? I'm a beggar.
Mm-hmm. And his brother-in-law's a big duck hunter. And so I wonder how many ducks it would actually take to make duck sausage. It might be a lot to get it off a wild duck, but it's still those ideas of using those flavors that are just wild here and putting those into sausage.
Oh, cool. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
That, especially that venison one.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone ever done that before?
Well, I feel like
you think there has been, maybe?
Well, the venison sausage, well, I'm from the Iron Range, so that's just a common thing that's just up there. Because, deer hunting is basically a holiday for those 2 weeks on the Iron Range.
Yeah.
But like venison sausage tastes, like, the typical one is kind of like just your basic salt-spiced sausage with venison.
Okay.
So it doesn't really go out of the ordinary, but we're like, but these great flavors that we have here,
right? Let's
incorporate those. Because venison is really gamey. It's that tough meat. It has that strong game flavor, but why not sweeten it with some blueberry, and then add that kind of base of wild rice would be really kind of nice, I think.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm the one that's causing us to get away from our main topic that we're going to. But about the venison part, can't you kind of like cook it as I'm doing low and slow, or so that it just kind of really breaks down and that it's not so gamey, and then still be able to use that within the sausage, or
yeah, sure,
okay,
yeah, I have no idea, because I've only made sausage too with raw ground meat. I've never cooked it before and then cased it.
Is that possible? Is that something that can be done?
I think it is possible.
Okay.
The case would have we still warm it up to cook it, so the casing would then cook or shrink, whatever it does when you're in the process. I don't know what the actual chemistry is.
Okay.
But I think you could do it with pre-cooked meat as well.
Again, I'm a beggar, so I hope to at least have one link, maybe, or a piece of one. Anyway, back to our task at hand. Gosh, this meal, dude, honestly, I'm not trying to give you a swelled head or anything like that, but this was bomb. It really was. I had so much fun, and I think I may have chopped maybe one thing or something like that, but just to be there for the whole experience and everything was really awesome. So, tell us a little bit about, I'm going to leave the best, not even the best, because everything was good, but the fabulous, galantine for last. Tell us about, what was that pastry?
One of the appetizers we made they're called gougères, which is basically, it's just a cheese puff.
Yeah. And it tasted so good, y'all. I'm telling you,
And they're really not that hard to make. They're not that hard to make. And so what you do is you take pâte de choux, which is just a dough that make cream puffs with.
Okay.
Like those, or eclairs. It's that hollow dough that puffs up when you bake it.
Right.
So it's just, you make that. And then instead of incorporating like custard into it, you incorporate cheese.
Okay.
So you just whisk it together. And the interesting thing about that dough is how you create it first. It's not, you don't just put dry ingredients together and whisk it. You actually boil water and butter first, so the butter is incorporated all the way through the liquid.
Interesting.
Then you add the flour into that water.
Wow. And
then cook it for a little bit so the flour that taste kind of goes away.
Okay.
And that's your base. Then you incorporate eggs into that paste.
That's interesting because, and I say that because I've seen you all prepare things before. I guess I know that I was a little late. I wasn't late, but just that you all were already preparing things, and I wasn't there for that process. And I'm like, I don't remember hearing anything about boiling water and then putting butter.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
And you boil water, put the butter in, and then you create this paste, and then you add the eggs into that paste, and that is like, it is an arm workout. It's an arm workout. Getting those eggs to combine into everything, especially as you keep on adding them. The eggs take longer and longer to incorporate.
Oh wow! Okay.
And man, it just hurts your arm.
Okay.
Hurts your arm. But that egg is what makes everything puff up.
Okay.
When you bake it, so we just incorporate this cheese, and the cheese that we use is Gruyere for that.
Okay.
Which is, I don't want to say this, but this is the best way I can describe it. It's like, it's a fancy version of cheddar. It's a hard yellow cheese. It's kind of like between a cheddar and a Parmesan.
Yes.
Is what Gruyere is like, and it's creamy when it melts, and it's salty, and it's really satisfying.
Delicious on so many things.
So that's what those are, is just puffed up dough with cheese.
Okay.
And if you take out the cheese and just let them puff up naturally, they get really big and round.
Okay.
But with the cheese, it doesn't let it puff up as much because of the fat inside of it.
Understood. But man, they were so delicious. They have... these are not filters, as you can see. They're just all the pictures themselves of these dishes. So vibrant. I'm sorry, I'm a presentation person. So looking at it, and when you're taking a picture and these look so good, you could smell the cheese coming from it and the aroma. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
they're really tasty. Like you can just like
about them.
You can like pop like 10 in your mouth and still go for another 10 more.
Yep,
that tasty.
Because that's what was happening as they were making them. Yeah. Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah. You want me to put these out on the table out there? Sure. Close the door behind me of the kitchen. Yay.
Yep. It's super great.
Oh man. The next I want to kind of mention or talk about, what was this salad?
Oh, this salad. Yes. This was just like one of those things, we should have a vegetable. We should have vegetables of some sort, because this is nothing but like pastries, custards, cheeses, meat. I'm like, we need to have something going on. So it's just a bunch of greens, and then our friends Aaron and Cecil let us host the party there, which was great. And so we had tomatoes from their garden that we popped in, and then shaved fennel.
Okay.
Why not?
Now, come on now, I'm about to talk about that vinaigrette.
Right.
You remember that vinaigrette?
So good.
What did you put in it? Do you remember what was in it?
I do.
Please.
So, before we talk about the salad, let's talk about the tarts.
Okay.
Because it comes from the tarts.
Okay.
So I made two different tarts. One that was a strawberry tart, basic strawberry tart. And then the custard on the bottom is just basic creme patisserie, which is just a baking custard.
All right.
Basic cream. It's just eggs, sugar, flour. You just make it into a custard.
What I guess simple words for me and for listeners too, because
I know this is getting some pretty bougie things.
But for someone that's not very familiar, it's like those are for baking terms or whatever. That seems to be like almost like a foundation, what you start off with, and to make it like a custard or something. Right? Yeah. Okay, good.
And so the custard. So it's just eggs and sugar, egg yolks and sugar, and you whisk those together until it forms what's called the ribbon.
Okay.
And I don't know how to describe the ribbon, I just know when I see it.
All right.
It's just the consistency of the egg yolks being bitten to the sugar, and it's like when you take out the whisk.
Okay.
It's the way that the yolk falls back into the sugar, and it makes these ribbons. So make that, then you add, you add some milk, and then some flour or cornstarch. I use flour. And you put it together, and then you slowly, it takes forever, cook it on the oven or the stovetop.
Okay.
And then it starts to thicken, and you have your custard. Then you flavor it with whatever you want. The strawberry one's flavored with vanilla.
Did you do that at Aaron and Cecil's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, y'all. I'm telling you, this dude. Sorry. You're here. You're my friend. I can refer to you as that.
Yeah.
This dude was cooking basically all this stuff.
It was a 2-day cooking adventure.
It was like, okay, he's got to run over here and look at the oven. Oh, I got to look over here on the stove. Wait a minute, I got to go over here by the, by the pasta, maker, or what do you call it? Roller. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that pasta was a catastrophe, but it worked out. It
worked out fine. Shush. But his hands were everywhere. I mean, doing things. He was multitasking with food, and it was quite exhilarating.
So go ahead with that. And the strawberries, there's just shaved or like chopped up strawberries on top with the apricot glaze.
Nice.
And the apricot glaze is just basically go find apricot jam at a grocery store, put it in a pan full of a bit of water, reduce it down, strain out the chunks,
Okay.
and then the leftover the syrup, just cover that on top.
Nice.
That's all that is.
It gave it a nice sheen too.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Then the next one is a peach plum pear tart.
Oh my.
And this is where we're getting to that vinaigrette for the salad.
Okay.
So with the peach, plums, and pears, I poach them in red wine and cinnamon.
Okay.
So poaching is cooking it in liquid, essentially.
Yes.
So just chopped it up. I didn't peel them because the peeling when you poach of the fruit comes off after you cook it. And then you just like once it cooled, they just pop up. Yeah,
exactly.
So I just reduced those down and made this wonderful syrup. So the red wine reduces, which has that rich flavor of red wine with some cinnamon, and then the fruit flavor. And that was the base of the vinaigrette.
It was off the charts, y'all. I'm telling you, this salad was gone. I mean...
Yeah, when has a salad ever gone at a party?
Gone. I mean, this was gone. Really. I mean, when we first were... I think we even tasted the vinaigrette first. Mm-hmm. And before you had even put it on the salad, we were all in the kitchen. I think there was 5 of us. Mm-hmm. You know, Robin, Aaron, Cecil was there too, and, the both of us. Then we were just like... Oh my God!
The vinegar there was balsamic, and just that sweetness and that tartness of that with this fruit, cinnamon, wine. It was so good.
It was off the charts. I mean, it's one that has there ever been a vinaigrette?
You cannot buy this at a store.
That's what I was about to say.
You cannot buy this at a store.
I'm like, dude, you have something
that was super tasty.
It was wonderful. It really was.
And you'd think it'd be really sweet, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. Everything balanced out, and then of course to put it on the salad and everything and pour it over, it was just really great. What else was in the salad too?
Yeah, so I think it was just the greens, tomatoes, fennel.
Okay.
And then that vinaigrette on top, maybe some like shaved almonds. I don't remember, but. It was, but the keeper of that was that salad dressing, and it was that nice, rich, like blackberry color because of the wine and the fruit.
And also, I mean, the contrast on it when it was poured across the salad and everything, and it wasn't watery.
No, it was super thick.
It was good. It was so great. We're gonna have to do that again. We're gonna have to do another pastry. Something. I don't know. I mean, do you feel that you really actually have to do, or can you probably just do the vinaigrette by itself in maybe a larger amount? Because there's folks that probably want to steal some of that.
Because I wonder. We're getting out of that fruit season where the peach and the plums, I think, right? Well, the peaches aren't really, not a fall fruit really, they're more of a summer.
Not really.
But I think any kind of wonderful pit fruit would be good. That you can just reduce down, poach it in some red wine cinnamon. Maybe add a little lemon juice in there too. Just reduce that down
a little bit.
Reduce that down, then add some like a balsamic, some oil, whisk it together. Maybe add some. I think we added some like herbs of Provence in there too, just to give it a little herby flavor.
Man,
it was so good. So good.
To speak on it and everything like that on the air, and I know we're trying to describe it as best as possible, but I'm telling you, if you ever have the opportunity to make this, which I hope you don't mind, listening to this, you're saying it verbally, but I'm going to re-listen to it and write down the recipe, unless you could write down the recipe for us and I will make it available. But either way, if you make it, please let us know what you think of it, because oh my goodness, this was definitely one of the highlights of all this wonderful food. I mean, everything.
And it was just a salad dressing.
That's all it was. I know it seems like, okay, gosh, they're going on and on about the salad dressing, but I'm telling you, when you make it, if you make it, which brings me to, if you're interested in definitely asking some questions, because maybe there are people out there that's like, oh, what else can you use that on, or what other kind of vinaigrette do you have in your wonderful cooking mind over there? You want to share that with people? Please feel free to give us a call here at the radio station on the show, 651-200-3479. Again, that's 651-200-3479. Phone lines are open. You could take calls. I mean, we're taking calls. So if you want to have a suggestion, or you want to ask a question about, I'm not putting you on the spot, but
sure, call in.
French cuisine man over here. No, honestly, I mean that in all respects. Really, he has a wonderful mind when it comes down to doing French cuisine, and as well as other cuisines as well. But again, with Julia Child being his spirit animal, yeah, that's who he's going to be channeling right now. So yes, once again, that telephone number 651-200-3479. Let's get into this.
So the galantine?
The galantine.
Alrighty. So
talk slow with this.
Yeah,
this was oh my gosh. Do you want to kind of give him a description of what? Now you don't. I went ahead and did a little bit of research, and I have on printed form what a galantine is. But you are best.
But this is pretty much what I would. Okay, I would say it too. So
okay, good.
Galantine is. Well, I'll just say what we did,
right,
in part of this. So it's we made a chicken galantine.
Yes.
And in that process, you skin and bone a chicken, which took some time to get down. But you take off the skin and the bones, but leave the meat intact. And then you save this chicken skin, use the bones to make a brown stock.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this chicken skin and a whole bunch of like force meat, which is ground meat. So ground up chicken, ground up pork, ground up chicken liver, and you make this meat terrine, essentially, that you flavor with different herbs and spices, and we pistachios and mushrooms, and you make that into like a log form.
Okay.
Wrap up the chicken skin around it, and then you poach it in brown stock. And when you poach it, it forms kind of an aspic. So it is a deboned stuffed meat that you poach and cover in aspic. That's what it is.
Explain a little bit about aspic. I mean,
yeah. So I was never a fan of aspic until we ate this thing,
okay.
And I think because the idea is gross. Aspic is the jellied food. Jellied food, right?
Yeah,
is the best way to say it. So when you cook down or make a stock, it is the jelly that happens when you put everything together. So when you like, a great example is that in Spam, that
yes.
jelly in the Spam cam, that is an aspic. Or when you make a stock and you really reduce it down, that jelly that forms, that gelatinous stuff, that is an aspic. So it is just what happens with the marrow and the bones when you boil it down and cook it, it forms that jelly.
Right.
And so think of it as a meat jello, is what it is.
I love that.
It's meat jello, right?
Meat jello.
And it's before, I've never really strained it out before, and I think that was why this one turned out to be so good, is because it wasn't full of like meat chunks. It was just the gel of it was just the straight aspic, which made it really, really tasty. And when it's done properly, it should just melt in your mouth and be this salty meat flavor. And so if you can see in the picture, you can see some of the aspic just kind of floating around the top of the chicken skin. And on the sides.
I'm sorry, they gave it some additional flavor too.
Oh man, yeah. It's really a wonderfully tasty surprise for the galantine. And so on the inside of the galantine, you see that picture. There's the green pistachios popping out. You can see the cubes of meat. So we took a pork loin, ground up half of it, and then just chunked up half of it. And then also with the chicken, ground up half the chicken, and then cubed up half the chicken. So you can see the chunks of meat inside the aspic, and it's kind of like a cold cut is really what it is. You serve it cold, because once you poach this thing for like, I don't know, like an hour and a half, you poach it like 350,
okay,
and then you take it out of the oven and let it cool in the stock as well.
Okay.
So it's just go into town, then you refrigerate it for a day. So it takes a long. It's not a thing you're going to do in 2 or 3 hours.
No.
It is a long process. But when it cools, that all the fat from the pork and the chicken and the liver and then the stock congeals and tightens up. And so you get this cold cut. You serve it cold, slice it up, eat it with the skin around it. You take off the skin, it peels off nicely. It is great. Put on a little, crostini, add some mustard, boom.
What were we doing? Who? Maybe it was Aaron. He was taking the crostini, that and something. Oh. I didn't print that out, but remember the I guess it's a dip or something.
Or the beans, or the cheese.
It was white dip with with dill and everything.
Yeah, that was just fromage blanc, just a white cheese.
Okay,
so it's basically like creating that bourgeon.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That one wasn't as that one we. So this cheese that we made, I wasn't happy about this. This one didn't turn out so well. But what you do is you take ricotta cheese and cream cheese and you herb it up. So you add like dill and shallots, and then you wrap it in cheesecloth and let all the whey soak out.
Okay.
And what we did wrong is we double wrapped it in cheesecloth, so the whey, it just got absorbed in the cheesecloth. It stayed in, so it didn't form. It was kind of like this goop. It should have been like a nice ball, and it wasn't. But it was still tasty.
No, it was. But I'm saying that he did that, those three things together. Was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. You know, we need to keep doing this like this. But the galantine, though.
The galantine is super rich. And like you could it's huge too. It's not a dainty thing. It's
not.
Like we cooked it. Like this is basically like the size of a loaf pan.
Where the hell did you guys get that pan? Good God.
Right. So we did a test run.
Okay.
Of it before we made it for the party. Yeah. We did a test run because like how do we just bone this thing? How do we what's it gonna turn out like? So Aaron went to kitchen window and bought a poaching pan. And that's what that purpose of that pan is, to poach.
Wow.
And it's this a long oval that's relatively deep.
Yes.
And it has like a shelf that you can take in and out. And it's just a poaching pan, and so you can just dig it. I mean, it's huge. It's huge.
We're describing it, but it's like it's almost like 2 feet long. It seems
2 feet long and probably 8 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And maybe I would say 10 inches deep, like my hand.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a massive pan that because this galantine needs to fit in there and then needs to be submerged in liquid.
That's true.
And so there was a lot of stock
Gosh.
that we had to put over that thing because it's just a massive pan. But super tasty, and this thing lasts forever. Like it doesn't really, it goes bad, of course, it's meat.
Oh, of course.
But like it just lasts for like probably like a week.
Gosh,
and as it sits, the flavors
settle
and blend.
You don't want to say congeal, but blend is a better way to describe it. Did you have any left over or whatever to like make sandwiches? Because that's my thought process. I was thinking
you totally can.
Because I was thinking, gosh, I could make a bunch of sandwiches.
Yeah, you could sandwiches. You could just like
a salad or whatever.
Did you think about scrambling that up in some eggs?
Oh my God!
Right? Super great. But yeah, it is just this rich, and I would recommend if you're gonna make it for a party, look it up. We watched a video.
Okay.
We got inspired by this by watching a Jacques Pepin episode. Okay. He was with his daughter cooking up stuff like, oh, let's try to make that. That looks really fun. Then we watched YouTube videos of how to debone, which was a lot of stop and rewinds. Watch it again. How do you do that? Where's the wishbone? Oh my gosh. Right. Cutting things up. But I would suggest watching the video to see how it's done.
Okay.
Try making it once before, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Our first one, there wasn't enough fat, and we didn't poach it properly. Round 2 was way better.
On the first one, though, did you feel, because I think you all were talking about the meat was probably not cut up small enough or something, or...
It wasn't cut up small enough, and it was really dry, so we overcooked it.
Oh, okay.
Which is a weird thing. You're cooking something in liquid, yet it can still dry out. How that works, I have no idea.
That's interesting.
But it happens. I don't know the science behind that, but it definitely happened. And also there wasn't enough fat. We didn't have enough fat content in it.
That's probably it, more than anything.
Yep.
Interesting. Gosh, man, I'm telling you, if you have another event like this, please let me know. I will come help. You know that. That's never a question. But yeah, that was a wonderful. It was pretty much an entire day, but it was great. So, what was your best thing from out of it?
Well, doing this galantine, it was one of those things where like learning techniques of how to bone and skin a chicken.
Okay,
that is something I think great. So it makes me think like, can I do this with a duck? It is like duck season. Like last weekend, Clancy's Meats. I'm gonna shout out to Clancy's, which is one of my favorite stores. I didn't know this existed before.
Right?
So good.
I went. Well, go ahead. I'll tell you
what I did. I was looking for like duck confit. Like I have a small studio apartment. I would love to make duck confit in my apartment, but I can't imagine like everything from like my mattress, my rugs smelling like that. I can't imagine cooking it. So I'm like, I just want this. So I went and found it there. But makes me think like, can you make what can you do with a duck?
Right.
Stuff and bone, or do bone that and skin that. The same kind of thing. How rich that would be if you make a pork sausage instead of like something more savory with the sweetness of the duck.
It's got that its own like extra fattiness to it and everything. That would probably be perfect.
So just that technique of learning how to do that was a giant takeaway.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So just learning that boning process. And I'm still kind of like new at it. I'm not great by any means. Don't get me wrong. There's still like chunks, but so the skin didn't pierce though. I was really proud of that.
I was very impressed. Looking at it, did you guys? You tied it up to a certain.
Oh yeah, when you poach it, you wrap it up in cheesecloth. And then tie it with kitchen twine.
Yes.
Kitchen twine, and so it looks like this log that forms. And if you can kind of see, there's like you can see on the picture the indentations of the chicken, or kitchen twine, going around that. But that's just to keep it together because it's like there's this loose meat on the inside of the chicken skin, so it just keeps everything together. So when it cooks, it hardens up.
Understood. We're transitioning because he said this place, and when I saw you go there, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, because I texted you like, oh my gosh, I got all the super cheap Clancy's meats, you guys, you have to go.
So after it, I think it may have been on a Saturday, probably Saturday or something, maybe Friday. No, it was Saturday.
It was Saturday, yeah.
So, from here, I saw the message and I'm like, oh, dang. Okay, well, I'm going to call them and see what they got there, because I had in mind doing lamb. So I called and Clancy's Meat. Hi, do you have any lamb? Oh yeah, we sure do. What would you like? We have lamb shoulder. We have lamb legs. They're both boneless. So any particular type? How much you want? I was like, what? I'll be there in about an hour.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a small store. It's basically a meat counter and then a meat cooler on the back, on the other side. It's tiny.
It's fresh. I mean, the meat is fresh.
So good.
They even do sandwiches.
Yep.
And soup and everything. So I mean, seriously, a stream of people were just coming in constantly.
Mm-hmm. I was just getting there early in the morning because I was there probably 11, maybe 10:30,
right?
And things were already going out, like the salmon, because apparently the salmon season is kind of Alaskan salmon is kind of on the end,
right?
So like the salmon was out in the morning. I got the last of the duck confit, and this is at 10:30 in the morning, right? And 11 o'clock. So get there early. People know about it. It's in Linden Hills, which is that little cute, like you're like walking into a European vacation when you go there.
If I recall the address, it's 407 Burton. I'll have to look it up.
I don't know, yeah.
Because I knew. Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about it, but I was a little bit excited about all the stuff we were talking about. Because that's where I got the lamb from and everything. And yeah, you're always looking for a good, I won't say the best, but at least a good one that's going to really serve you really great quality, good cuts of meat and everything. And there were other places that were going to have the lamb. They were going to have it boned in, so I was probably going to have to take it off the bone myself. But then they ran out, or they only get a small portion. They seem to have like it on, I don't know, it's stocked back there in their refrigeration or something like that, because they were bringing it out, or maybe people weren't buying lamb that day. I don't know, but it worked out really well. So I got, maybe this is probably too much, but I don't care. I got 2 pounds of lamb shoulder and I think a pound of leg of lamb, all boneless. I'm excited, y'all. I really am. I've never really done lamb before, cooked lamb or prepared lamb. So I've gone online, looked at recipes or whatever, and I thought, hey, these are certain ingredients that I want to add to it. There is a Moroccan spice that I'm going to be using, which is wazalanut, and I've talked about it on the show, and there were other friends that were on the show that mentioned it as well. Top of the shop, or head of the shop, is what they refer to it as in Morocco and other areas. I think up north in Morocco, of course. And man, it's a wonderful flavor. It's a wonderful spice, but I have so many other ingredients in there: potatoes and mushrooms and carrots and leeks and everything. I'm excited about it. It's at home right now, so no one could follow me. You don't know where I live, but you could probably follow the aroma.
Well, I'm gonna go back really fast. And the meat that I bought this chicken from, and the pork and the inside, and then also I made a giant pot of beef bourguignon for this party.
Yes.
And all of that meat I got at Lowry Hill Meats.
Love Lowry,
which is in Uptown.
Yes. Right on Hennepin.
Yep, right on Hennepin, which is it's relatively new, right?
It's probably about 2, maybe 3 years old. Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
I used to get out of St. Paul anymore.
Yeah, I'm serious. They've been there for a while.
And that's where I got all the meat, and super fresh as well.
Yes.
And they do their sandwiches. They have a whole like deli thing there, but super fresh. They also do awesome classes in meat, like meat sausage, and they have a butcher class. I would love to go in.
The pork one?
Yes.
Good lord. Oh my. So, I'm like, dang, wow, you know, every time, and it always sells out. That's the thing.
Of course,
always. You know,
I don't have enough time just to go for a couple. Like it's like a long.
Yes, it's like 3 hours.
Right.
Oh, man, you know, and I think at one point I even made a comment like in their class, well, I wish you could have it again. Well, we're waiting to see you. I'm like, don't tempt me like this. I have other responsibilities. I've rent and other things I gotta pay. I don't have time to be extra frivolous. But I want to go.
I would say those are my 2 favorite meat shops in town.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Clancy's and Lowry Hill.
Yeah, Clancy's is now my new one, and they're knowledgeable. It's funny because, you know, when I was getting the shoulder, they were like, you know, this has you know, quite a bit of, you know, a little bit of fat on there. You're aware of that, or it's kind of, you know, and I'm like, yes, I'm aware, you know, because I read up on it and how, you know, what area that it's in. She's like, okay, no problem, as long as you're aware, you know, because we don't want to give you, you know, we're trying to give you good quality meat and everything, and we just don't want you to think, they gave us a whole bunch of fat, you know. So nope.
Yeah, well, I got that confit because basically confit it's meat cooked and stored in its own fat.
Okay.
Right. So it's duck confit. So it's duck legs that are cooked in duck fat and then preserved in duck fat. So it's like they have this big bowl of all these just duck legs sticking out in fat. And they're like, how much of the duck fat do you want? I'm like,
how much can you give me?
He's like, I got 6 legs. I'm like, clean off 4 of them, and don't clean off 2. Because I mean, just duck is so rich, and there's still fat on it. But I'm like, I cooked these. I just browned them up in the oven and crispied them up, added some lentils to it. It was great, but it was so tasty. Clancy's Meats, let me tell you.
Oh man,
place to go.
Dang it. See. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about this stew that you're doing tonight.
Oh sure,
yeah, please.
So it's just a basic stew. And when I say basic stew, it's not like your I'm gonna say iron range brown stew. It's you get stew meat or any kind of beef that you like that you can just chunk up, dry it off, and then you brown it in bacon grease. So you get lardons, fry that up in your pan, and then brown the beef before you make the stew in that. And that just puts a nice sear on the meat so the juices stay in. It just adds a lot of great flavor to the meat. And then you add onions and garlic and herbs. And I was where I work, we do community integration with some of our artists that I work with on Fridays, and so we spent a lot of time at Frogtown Farm this past summer.
I love that place.
Oh, it's great. And so yesterday I got a whole bunch of fresh herbs to take home, and they're tarragon. Whatever kind of tarragon they have there, I just grabbed it. It smells so good. So I'm just add a whole bunch of tarragon into this stew. So it's red wine and then onions, garlic, tarragon, tomato paste, and then you just cook that for a good 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
And the meat gets super tender. And in the last half hour of that, you add capers and black olives. And with those olives, what you have to do before you add them into the stew is you have to boil them first.
Why is that?
Because they're so salty. And it takes out a lot of the salt, kind of gets rinsed out when you boil them. And it's not for very long.
But then are you throwing away that?
Throw away the brine.
Okay.
And then just put the olives then in the stew because then it would be so salty.
Okay.
They're almost inedible because it's so salty.
Understood.
But that's it. And it has this wonderful like hearty stew flavor. I just like cooking stew with wine. It makes the meat tender. It's a great flavor, that reduced wine. And from this party, I have a couple of great bottles of French wine still. I have this wonderful Beaujolais on my fridge, and I have another. I have a French Malbec. I haven't drank these. I'm like, ooh, what is going to be used to make this?
Yes. I want to go back to Clancy's Meat just to provide some information regarding Clancy's Meat. It's 4307 South Upton Avenue. That's Minneapolis. 55410. That's again in the Linden Hills area. Again, if you're interested, again, shout out to Clancy's Meat. I mean, man, 4307 South Upton Avenue. Minneapolis. That's over there by Lake Harriet. If you're, really trying to find where's Upton and everything, because that's what I had to do. I was like, where is this? I was like, man, okay, well, and they're open until today from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I was gonna say the other word. Get yourself over there, over to Clancy's Meats. Awesome place. Now, if only my computer. Okay, I was having computer issues for just a second. I was like, I need to get on my phone. Okay, so what do you have up? Do you have plans for like Thanksgiving, or what do you normally do for Thanksgiving?
Right. So Thanksgiving, my family has turned. It's weird. It's not weird, but this is how it works. The weekend before Thanksgiving, we always do my dad's side of the family.
Okay.
Which I can never go to because I usually work. Okay. And so I can't go to my dad's side this year because I'm in a production, so it's happening. So I can't do that.
Right.
And then on Thanksgiving, my sister-in-law always goes. My sister goes with her husband's family. So it's always just my mom and dad and myself. Mm-hmm. And so for the past couple of years, I'm like, Mom and Dad, we're not doing the typical Thanksgiving thing because it's just the three of us. That's ridiculous. Why are we gonna have all this food? It's ridiculous. So we like, what should we make? Let's still have a big meal, but let's have things that we want to eat or try out.
Okay.
So last year I made these wonderful pork loins that were marinated in white wine, garlic, herbs, and they were marinated for like 24 hours.
Oh wow.
And then we just cooked those things up, and then I made this wonderful basil mustard tomato cream sauce. Oh, I'm telling you.
What was it? What did you use that for?
The meat. You just poured it over, then you just chop up some tenderloin and those medallions, right? You drizzle that sauce over it. I mean, the mustard tomato cream, basil. You think, like, how does this work together? Oh, it does. So we had that, and then just asparagus, and I love. So our friend Aaron, taught me this amazing asparagus recipe, which I do all the time now. It's just great. Which is,
go ahead.
It's you take asparagus, roll them in olive oil, add chilies and garlic.
I was there that night, I think. When go
ahead.
Yes.
So you roll them with chilies and garlic, and you don't like mince up the garlic, just slice it up. So you have like those rounds, garlic rounds, chilies julienne them, so you have like these nice green and red,
right?
And the garlic. Then you cover it in brown sugar. Brown sugar, and what happens when you broil it? And that brown sugar caramelizes on top of the asparagus.
Yes.
And then all that wonderful liquid, the asparagus when it sweats out, has a sweet asparagus like juice that's garlicky, which is great for bread. Then at the end of it, top some feta cheese on top.
Yeah. Oh. We didn't do that night, but we probably should have. Now we know to do something additional to that.
Yeah,
it's like, wow.
Great. So this asparagus, that's how we make asparagus for like parties. Is like this is the way you do it.
Oh wow.
It's crunchy and tender, a little spicy, garlicky.
It was delicious when he did it, and I think when we were over there at like in the evening when he did it, or at least when I remember, it was good. It was good. I mean, we were all like, especially you and I, were like, "Good Lord, this is really good."
Right.
Anyway,
it's really tasty.
Anyway,
so this year it's gonna be my mom and dad and I. And I have no idea what we're cooking yet.
All right.
Because I'm going up the day before Thanksgiving. My parents live like 4 hours away.
Okay.
So I'm driving up the day before Thanksgiving. And then what we're doing, I don't have to come back down Thanksgiving Day because I have a show on the Friday after. So just driving up quick.
Right.
How about you? What do you do for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to be just around. I'll probably go from, I don't know, house to house. Or something like that. I don't know. I really don't. But I think... There's someone, she may or may not be listening, but there's a friend that is a previous manager actually. She's been trying to get me to do a bread pudding. You've had my bread pudding.
Yeah.
Me and Cecil's, that rivalry. No, I'm kidding. But she's asking me to do that. So I'm thinking about doing that and maybe taking that to her. I'm not sure yet. So if you're listening, Ms. Harris, I am doing bread pudding, but we'll have to see when that comes along. Anyway, just know that you'll get it before the holidays. That's, I don't know. Maybe I'll just I don't know, because my family is not here.
Right.
They're in Los Angeles, so I don't really. A lot of times it's my father. I will get in the kitchen with my father, and be cooking all this kinds of stuff, everything. All the stuff that I can't imagine. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'll try to make sure that I'm around friends and people that I love.
Right.
So, gosh, we could talk so much more about different dishes and foods and everything like that. I'm doing a lamb roast. I think I talked about that very briefly. So, I was gonna kind of like bounce some stuff off of James, but even more. But in his knowledge, he does not have room yet for lamb.
I haven't. I've never explored lamb.
So, hopefully in the future he will have an opportunity to get some lamb experience.
Well, I know where to buy it now.
Yes.
I know where to get it.
Clancy's meat. But, before the show ends, as always, there is a segment that we like to call Get Your Groupon. So I'm going to talk about maybe one or two Groupons, and then we're going to kind of close out the show and find out what James is going to be up to, in his additional professional life and everything. Normally we do that at the outset, but I was too excited about the food. So sorry, my bad. It just happens that way sometimes. I want to talk about, there's one Groupon, which I love, the Egg and I. Have you been to the Egg and I?
The one in, Uptown?
Yes.
God, I used to live, blocks from there when I was in college. I would be, every weekend, I'd go to the Egg and I. And I was just there recently, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Did you still like it, do you?
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah.
What?
I just don't make it to Uptown anymore.
No, right?
Because I live over on this side of town.
Exactly. Dang. I mean, no, I don't mean it like that. Because I love living over here and everything. It's like, yeah, but yeah.
The Egg and I is classic. I also love the coffee cups. They're clear.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, this is awesome.
How do you know about coffee cup? What? How do you know about coffee cup?
No, they're coffee cups. They're clear. It's like the waiter or waitress can always just see when you need more coffee. And they just come by, just fill it up. This looks perfect.
I was like, what do you know about coffee cup? He's talking about their coffee cups, the actual coffee cups you're holding in your hand. So yeah. I'm talking about a restaurant. See, there's that miscommunication. Sorry, there is a restaurant called Coffee Cup that's on Rice Street. Anyway, it's over by where I live. Man, that's another place you need to know about. The Egg and I, there are multiple locations, but specifically the one in Uptown, if you're interested, it's on Lindale, 2828 Lindale Avenue South. There is actually one, and I guess I found out about this one in St. Paul maybe about a year and a half ago, probably. Yeah. And I know it's probably been there longer, but that one is on 2550 University Avenue West. Again, St. Paul 55114. The one on Lindale, 2828 Lindale, Minneapolis is 55408. But both of those locations, you can actually purchase a $8 Groupon that covers a $16 value. Now that's Monday through Friday. That you could use that. I mean, during that time period. There is another option, which is the $9 one. Again, still a great price. And that's to use on any day, so Sunday through Saturday. So just keep in mind that there is a Groupon out there. I mean, they have really great. It's more American, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's the diner food.
But it's top-notch diner food.
Yeah, it's not super greasy. It's just it's great. I always get omelets whenever I go there.
I have to get an Eggs Benedict.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just like, and I don't know, that seems to be my thing right about now. But
look at the board. They always have the specials on the whiteboard.
Yes, exactly.
Look at the omelet specials.
Gosh, they talk about Canadian bacon and, having Haagen-Dazs. It's hollandaise, not Haagen. I can't talk today. It's hollandaise sauce. I just said I have Eggs Benedicts. Hollandaise sauce. Haagen-Dazs. Yeah. I don't know what's happening. But it's light, and it's very fresh. Gosh, I I don't know. I think I haven't had breakfast this morning, not yet. So maybe that's what
listen to coffee or
the cuckoo crazy is going on right about now. I don't know. I need to have breakfast. Anyway, once again, the Egg and I, in Uptown, 2828 Lindale, and then of course the one in St. Paul, 2550 University Avenue. Make sure you go and check them out. As always, as I always say, these Groupons are always here and then gone. So you got to go check them out when I mention them to you, because they'll sell out pretty quick and pretty fast. So just, it's one, get your Groupon. We're only doing one because I need to go back to my friend here and find out a little bit more about what he's doing in his professional life and everything and things that are going on. So tell us a little bit more what's going on with you.
Yeah, so professionally, I work at Interact Theater Company.
Yes.
Which is located over on 1860 Minnehaha.
Is this new since the time? Ooh,
I've been there for 6 months, so I don't remember the last time I was on. Yeah, I know, crazy. I've been there since May. So also, I'm going to plug the St. Paul Art Crawl.
Please do.
Interact is part of that. Interact is it's called Interact Center for the Visual and Performing Arts. So there's a performing arts side, which I work in, and then the visual arts side. And the visual arts department is doing as part of the St. Paul Art Crawl. So make your way to Interact. It's 1860 Minnehaha, St. Paul. Family-friendly activities going on, food trucks, live music. Check it out. It's really cool. All the art is made by disabled artists, which is really cool to see all this amazing work that is up in the galleries and activities for kids to try out. So go ahead and try it out. And then, so performing arts side where I work, we have a show coming up that will be performed at the Lab Theater.
Cool.
We open November 10th. So November 10th through December 11th. I think is when it closes. I'm not sure when it closes. It runs for 4 weekends. It's called Feast of Fools, which is really great. It's a
Go ahead. No,
Feast of Fools, which is a medieval celebration that happens.
Okay.
Where topsy-turvy things, people replacing, changing power. The king becomes the Joker.
Okay.
So that's what the show is all about. Come see it at the Lab Theater. Kevin Kling, who's a wonderful Minnesota artist, nationally known, he is in it. He is also the playwright. So come see it. It's funny, great language. He's a great actor. Also, all the artists are disabled as well. With this.
And honestly, I'm sorry I interrupt you. You would never know it. I mean, they are so committed to their craft, committed to providing a wonderful performance. I mean,
I said all the artists are disabled. I'm going to say about 95%, and then there's guest artists that come in as well.
Right.
But the great thing, like what you're saying, you don't know.
You really don't.
Who the disabled artists are.
You don't.
It is. You forget about disability. You see artists. You see actors on stage.
Exactly. Yeah. And gosh, there's just something to say and be encouraged about. Individuals that are really just putting themselves out there and wanting to do something artistic. So I'm there with you. I'm excited for you all and for the company and production and everything.
So come see that. It opens on November 10th.
Cool.
And then outside of that, I'm working on my own personal projects as always. Which, if they have a deadline, I wish they had deadlines. Because then I'd actually finish them.
Your personal one?
Yeah, all my personal ones. That's the thing, like with theater, working in music, if you don't have a deadline or have an opening night, they can work on things forever.
Oh, gosh.
Yep.
I don't think you need to kind of like forget about charcuterie.
Oh, I know, right? That was one of my New Year's resolutions this year is to start charcuterie, and it hasn't happened. Have I been doing all the work on it? Yes, but never the writing down. And I have a Facebook friend who's like, James, who's one of the first people I wanted to interview. She's like, James, when's this going to happen? I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Don't not do it or whatever. I mean, you do it in your own time,
right.
And certain things maybe take precedent, or you have to make sure that your ducks are in order to a certain extent. Right. And I do understand that, believe me, because I know I'm joshing you right now regarding it, because I'm like, okay, we have Geist, we need to go to the fermentation
right,
which we haven't
done yet.
I know that's I think both of us
being so busy. The Happy Hog.
Handsome Hog?
I still haven't been there. Handsome Hog.
Yeah, James.
We've been on the show. I've been on the show. This is my fourth time. I'm trying to start again.
That's all right, though. Not a problem. Don't worry. I'm quite sure it's not going anywhere anytime soon. But I will say that you do live near, Lower Town area and everything like that. So, I think probably one day we're just gonna look. I'm at Handsome Hog. Meet me here. You know,
Right.
something like that. Whatever. We'll have to make it happen. Anyway, dude, I'm so thankful. I'm sorry, I'm having the sniffles right now. All throughout the show. Gosh, I don't know what's going on. It's the weather.
Allergies.
I guess. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you coming out and just talking about this wonderful night that we had, and just, you know, how you're interested in, you know, cuisine that you so love, which is French. I know that there's others, but there's just this one that's like, when I think of my friend James, Chef Lekatz, or Lekatz, sorry, Chef Lekatz, it's French.
Right.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It really is. So again, I really do appreciate you coming out and taking the time. Hopefully you'll be back on the show very soon. I will make it a point to schedule you, and we will talk about lamb.
Yeah.
Be prepared, because
I'll have your homework to do. Right? Some homework to do.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. We are near the top, well, actually at the top of the hour. So I want to thank you all so much for listening, taking the time out today. I am here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Right here on WEQY 104.7, the voice of the East Side. Please make sure that you're checking out my Facebook page, the Un-Bougie Foodie. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it is _Un-Bougie Foodie. And of course, Twitter. Sometimes, like I said, you might hear a rant or two or me making a comment, but it's at Un-Bougie Foodie. Or if you'd like to just leave me a comment or a message, send me an email through or the unbougiefoodie@gmail.com. More than happy to either share your suggestion or maybe comments and so forth on the air, because again, this show is really geared towards audience listeners as well, and helping them coming to appreciate more about restaurants, foods, cooking, recipes, things that you're able to do, you know, at home, and still have a really great meal, family, friends, and so on. So thank you so much again, audience listeners, and St. Paul, Twin Cities, I love you. Thank you very much. So as I close out every show, I want to thank you again for taking the time, but also remember, and I always encourage you, never to let anyone tell you what type of foodie to be, because really, it is all about the food.